How's everyone tonight? It's Robbie Davidson with Celebrate Truth. We got another one for you. It's a big one. That's right, Apollo astronauts might have found a piece of Earth on the moon. Who's ready? That's right, more propaganda. This is going to be a big year. 2019 is going to be a super big year for NASA, for the space agencies. Just get ready. I had mentioned this in 2018, talking about the 50th anniversary of the moon landing. And that's right, it's going to get crazy this year with more and more propaganda. We got a couple articles for you tonight. One is the piece of Earth on the moon. This is crazy. Now, we all know that this rock obviously came from the Earth. More people are looking into it, and guess what they're finding? We got a problem. They're detecting that this is sample tracings from Earth. So let's come up with a brand new story. Man, this is good. Let's get reading this one here. When the Apollo 14 astronauts brought moon rocks back to Earth, they may have also brought back a little piece of home. A bit of granite found on the moon could have been the first evidence that rocks can be chipped off Earth and land elsewhere. It's also one of the oldest Earth rocks we've ever found here or elsewhere. Are you ready for this propaganda? It gets better. Rocks get tossed into space from the moon and end up on Earth as meteorites all the time. So the same should be true in the other direction. Earth's been hit by a lot of very big things, and it's conceivable that some of those impacts have ejected material far enough away that it's been able to escape the clutches of Earth and make it to the moon. Did you hear what I just said? Hopefully you just heard that. They're actually saying now that stuff can hit the Earth, it can fly off, escape Earth's gravity, and continue on to the moon. This is the story they're coming up with. Who is buying it? Not me. Let's continue. So Jeremy Belushi at the Swedish Museum of Natural History and his colleagues have found one such object, a tiny piece of granite in a moon rock brought back by NASA's Apollo 14 astronauts. The researchers evaluated the chemical makeup and physical properties of zircon crystals in this piece of granite to figure out how they formed. They found that the crystals formed in an environment much richer in oxygen than the moon, and at unusually low temperatures and high pressures for lunar rocks. If it formed on the moon, it must have formed 167 kilometers deep, says Belushi. Even a massive impact on the moon would not be able to dig up rocks from that far down, he says. Now, first problem here, we got 167 kilometers deep. This is what Belushi is saying. Now, we got a big problem. Most people, if you're not familiar, what's the furthest that we have drilled into Earth? 8 miles. That translates to not even 20 kilometers. And yet they're telling us 167 kilometers deep. This is the story. Let's continue. While it is possible that the rock formed under unusual conditions on the moon, Belushi says that the simplest explanation is that rock actually came from Earth because it's similar to rocks that form in magma here. Okay, so someone says the jury's out. What they've pointed out is an interesting inconsistency, and they pointed out possible hypothesis. And now we get to figure out whether it holds water or not, he says. That could involve looking in other lunar samples for rocks that have chemicals not found on the moon, which would mean they are unambiguously from Earth. Because the meteorite from Earth is so old, it was likely formed about 4 billion years ago, making it one of the oldest rocks from our planet that we've ever found. It could teach us about the surface of Earth was like shortly after it formed, about 4.5 billion years ago. The moon has changed much less since it formed than Earth has. So it's a perfect spot to store a time capsule from the early years of our home planet. That's right, Kobe. Indeed, what rubbish. I couldn't have said it better myself. If I was in the UK or some other country, I would say rubbish, but it is complete garbage. It's exactly what I'm getting at when I get into this article. Apollo astronauts might have found a piece of Earth on moon. Oh, isn't that beautiful? This is what we continually see time and time again. And again, it basically secures their narrative of 4.5 billion years ago, the Earth formed. And now they're going to say that because they found something that is Earth-like on the moon, we might have a clue on how things began. Again, this is complete ridiculous. And again, it comes down to nonstop propaganda. And we're going to see this a lot in 2019. I had mentioned this before. It's the 50th year anniversary of the supposed moon landing. And there's going to be so much stuff coming out. There's coins being made. There's stamps. There's movies. There's documentaries, which I'll get to here in just a few minutes. Just wanted to say hi to everyone in the chat. Hey, Jason T, good to see you. Hey, Pastor Nate Wolf, Fired for Truth, is in the house. Thanks for joining. Hey, Dan, good to see you here. Sean, Carrie, awesome. Everyone's joining here. We're having a good time, aren't we, with all of this nonsense? We keep reading continually articles like this. And again, it's securing the narrative 4.5 billion years ago. And yet they're going to tell us 167 kilometers deep. This is where it must have formed. And yet they've only gone, what was that again? 8 miles is the furthest. I think it's the Russians that have the record. I think it's in the 80s, maybe it's early 90s, that they actually have the record. That's it. That's it. And yet they continually tell us, they show us these diagrams all the time of the Earth with all the different layers. We've all seen them in school. We've seen them on the internet. And again, it's nothing but cartoons. Just like the evolution diagrams you see from ape to man, nothing but drawings, renderings, cartoons. Where else do we see cartoons and renderings? That's right, planets. All the pictures we see, they're all renderings, just like the Earth. Whoa, wait a minute, what? Did you just say the Earth? Isn't it weird? 2019, look around for real photos of Earth from space, and you find nothing. You even click on the source like, NASA.gov. Sounds like a good source. Let's click on that image, and you get renderings, right? What is going on? What is going on when our reality that is told to us is painted? It's painted in paintings and pictures. But again, people love space. I talked about this in my last live stream, how people love space. They love the idea of space, of sending the stars. Again, this was Satan. This was exactly what his desire was, to ascend above the stars of God. And we see this being put in the hearts of men to continue pushing forward this idea. And what do we get for this Big Bang heliocentric construct? We get nothing but atheism. We get nothing but a universe created without God. Satan had to put something together so devious that he had to erase God. He didn't even just want all the glory for himself. He wanted to steal it away from God in the sense that he doesn't even exist, make him invisible. And this is exactly what we see with scientism, how they've moved forward. They've moved continually on a very, very sly path. And it's been going on for a long, long time. When we see articles like this, we know that the propaganda is increasing. People are becoming more skeptical of the reality of their world. They're looking into things like the moon landing. They're looking into evolution. They're looking into all these different narratives. But again, the propaganda continues. It continues on. That's right. Guess what we get to look forward to this year? Are you ready for it? The Apollo 11 trailer, the moon landing documentary critics call astonishing. All right? So it's not just First Man, which was peculiarly put out 49 years anniversary. Why would you put it on the 49th year anniversary? It would have made more sense to wait one more year. But regardless, it's like they were in damage control. They had to rush it out. Rush out, First Man. People are questioning the moon landing too much. Get it out. Yeah, but it's not even the 50th year anniversary. It doesn't matter. Get it out. People are questioning. Oh no, what can we do? YouTube's on damage control. We've got to censor these videos. We've got to put up WikiLeaks links and stuff like this. They got to put Wikipedia links underneath moon landing videos now. If you actually go to moon conspiracy videos, you're going to see the truth from Wikipedia. Sorry, it wasn't WikiLeaks. It was Wikipedia, where you're going to see this is the truth and don't listen to these lies. So they're really in damage control. I mentioned this on my last live stream, how they're moving towards different conspiracies, specifically 9/11 and flat earth. And really, if flat earth is so silly and so stupid and you're here and you just think it's so ridiculous, why would YouTube go so far to try to actually silence? Why would they go so far to remove them from the recommended feeds? Now you'll say, oh, well, they don't want stupid videos. Have you seen YouTube? All right. They've got awesome smart videos. They got awesome stupid videos. They've got everything in between. YouTube doesn't care unless they're getting a lot of pressure, because the scientific community are in damage control of what's going on. But let's continue on with this Apollo 11 trailer, the moon landing documentary critics call astonishing. Even though, Damien, Chazelle, First Man didn't impress Oscar voters. It reignited a sense of wonder in cinephiles, reminding viewers of the sheer magnitude of the incredible moment in 1969 when Neil Armstrong first set foot on the moon. 50 years later, a documentary just as unbelievable in scope, unbelievable, I would agree with that, will revive the historic moment for audiences, including those who experienced it and those who have only heard tales. That's right, fairy tales. They've heard a lot of fairy tales, but yet they want to cement and secure the narrative in people's minds for a new generation, especially people that weren't around, because so many people are starting to seriously question the moon landing. Filmmaker Todd Douglas Miller, Apollo 11 is made up of pristine, unprocessed, never before seen 65 millimeter footage that was recently discovered in the National Archives. All right, recently discovered. Oh, what's going on there? We stumbled across some brand new things. After 50 years, you think they would have gone through all the reels, but wait a minute, they lost most of the data, but they've got all the pictures, they got all the footage, but we've got brand new, recently discovered, 50 years later, in the National Archives. Like the National Archives is so big that they just lost track of it and they couldn't find it. But guess what? Filmmaker Todd Douglas was busy working hard to find brand new stuff, as well as 11,000 hours of uncatalogued NASA audio recordings. Now, I don't know about you, but do you want to watch 11,000 hour documentary? Just kidding. I know it won't be 11,000 hours, but really, seriously, they found brand new 11,000 hours of uncatalogued NASA audio recordings? Miller and his team then went about digitizing the raw material, creating an 8K transfer that the director has called the highest quality digital collection of Apollo 11 footage in existence. Ooh, this should be good. In his review of the film in Sundance, IndieWire critic David wrote specifically of the new restored 65 millimeter footage, the clarity takes your breath away, and it does so in a blink of an eye. Your body will react to it before your brain has time to process why. After a lifetime of casual interest, you're suddenly overcome by the sheer enormity of what it meant to leave the Earth and land somewhere else. Indie distributor Neon acquired international distribution rights for the film last summer, which was announced on the 49th anniversary of the 1969 landing of the Apollo 11 on the moon by mission commander Neil Armstrong and pilot Buzz Aldrin. Apollo 11 is the second film distribution collaboration between Neon and CNN Films. The first was the documentary Three Identical Strangers, a full-length documentary about triplets separated at birth and then reunited as adults. So Apollo 11 premiered at the Sundance Film Festival on January 24th, 2019. For a look at the stunning digital restoration that the critics wowed, check out the newly released trailer for Apollo 11 below. All right, here we go. We're going to give you a little bit of a preview of this. I thought you guys would like a sneak peek. Maybe you haven't seen this. This will be the first. This is the brand new digitized 8K, beautiful renderings. And I hope you guys really enjoy this because I think it's fascinating. Here we go. Let's give you a little sneak peek. All right, here we go. Ooh. Yeah. Wow. Amazing. So good. Like, look how real that is. Oh, I'm not doubting the moon. You guys gonna doubt the moon? Look at that. Look at that. It looks beautiful. You guys love that? I love that. I mean, I don't know. People are going to love that when they see that. Let's just watch that again because it's so good. It's like, this is what happens when you digitize it. It looks so real. No one in their right mind would ever not believe that they landed on the moon when they see this brand new documentary's footage. I mean, beautiful. Let's just watch this one more time. It's only 16 seconds. I'm just giving you a small little clip. You guys can watch the whole trailer for yourself. Yeah, see, he agrees. Good. Yeah. Yeah, this moon rock? Yep, good. What about this one? Yep, great. Look at that. And look at that. Look at in the background. You got the flag there. Look at it shimmering. You got the sun coming down, right? You got the blackness of space with no stars. Isn't that beautiful? So beautiful. But anyways, let's get back to this. This is actually the trailer here. I had a little humor in there. Thought it would be kind of funny because it is funny. The stuff just looks ridiculous. And yet now they're going to put this out because, again, 2019 is the big year. It is the big year to hit it hard. Let's go with the propaganda. Let's hit it really, really hard. They're going to be coming out with coins and, like I said, stamps. They're going to be coming out with documentaries. They're going to come out with everything. It is damage control central is what's going on. And people are not buying it. They're not buying it. More and more people are starting to question it. And yes, they come out and they tell you you're close to being a Holocaust denier, and they put fear into the population if you dare question the moon landing. You're a slavery denier. Oh my goodness, you're against history. And yet there's so many problems with the moon landing. It's just unbelievable. Yeah, we've destroyed all the technology, and it's a painful process to build it up again. It's like the technology goes reverse. Are you kidding me? The US are the only ones that had this technology. What about all the other countries building up that technology to go to the moon, plant their flag? But wait a minute. We actually just had someone actually do a dishwasher install today, and my wife was talking to him, and he asked kind of what I did, and she said, and he's like, oh, of course we went to the moon landing. China just went there. They went on the other side of the moon. I'm just like, some people, they just will watch whatever they see on TV, whatever they see in the news. And just because a probe went up to the far side of the moon, oh, it has to be true. Oh, and if U.S. didn't do it, well, then Russia would cry foul. No, Russia, U.S., this entire world is governed by Satan. Yes, there's a spiritual force behind all of these lies. He is the father of all lies. They are just the puppets. And this is an entire stage. The world is a stage. And getting to a point where you have an entire paradigm put together where you completely destroy God in people's mind. It's completely sad what's going on. I was a victim of it. I believed in what science had taught. And of course, that just makes anything laughable that's in the Bible. Of course you laugh at what's in the Bible when you understand the narrative when it comes to mainstream science. Oh, and who do we have? Who are we going to have in the history books for the mainstream science, the big contributors, the big media talking heads? Bill Nye, the actor? Neil deGrasse Tyson? The mic dropper? Really? Seriously? Lawrence Krauss, the one that said that nothing created everything and that that nothing can weigh something? He actually puts in his book that nothing weighs something. How does nothing weigh anything? And yet this is what people parade and say, yes, this is wonderful. Why? Because we have space. We can keep space. Space. That's what it's all about. And we're going to see this continually in this year, 2020, 2021, it's just going to keep ramping up in frequency because, again, they have to keep this all together. I mean, it would be so simple. Go to the moon, put a 24/7 feed on it, do all these sort of things. But nope, they don't. They send back garbage footage. And now a documentary is putting together all this brand new footage that's never been released. It was just found. 50 years later, it's just found. Brand new stuff. And what was it? 11,000 hours of uncatalogued NASA audio recordings. I mean, 11,000 hours. It's laughable. It's laughable. What does everyone think? Again, I wanted to go through the Apollo astronauts might have found a piece of Earth on the moon because they think it's important on what the storyline is going to be. Again, it's securing the story on Earth. Notice that a lot of these findings comes back to Earth. See, we were right. It's 4.5 billion years ago. This was 167 kilometers below. They hadn't even gone 8 miles. And yet they're going to tell us what's 167, or they find something. They say, oh, that's 400 kilometers below the Earth's crust. You don't have a clue. You've never been down there. We see it time and time again. What's everyone think? Jason T, we got DMT Matrix in the house. Joel Warren, good to see you tonight. Who else is in here? Rob V, nice to have you. Let's see here, Blue Velvet. Rodrigo is in the house. And yeah, we're going to see this time and time again with more nonsense when it comes to documentaries being released to secure the narrative, when it comes to rocks. Anyone that's ever looked into the moon rocks, there's so many problems. I mean, if you want to post in the chat what you think of the biggest problems with the moon rocks, there's so many areas. I don't know where to start. Hey, Wendell, nice seeing you. Nice meeting you as well. Right, it's Jason. We got Kai. We got so many people here joining. Awesome to see you all playing Earther. What's up? Good to have you here. Yeah, we're just talking about the Apollo astronauts might have found a piece of Earth on the moon. We also went through a bit of, you know what, because it's so good. I think we have to watch it again just because some new people are coming in. There's a new documentary coming out here on the moon. I'm not going to spoil it. You guys can rewind. You can go back and you can get it and you can find it for yourself. But like I said, this is crazy, all of the stuff that's happening. So many people are waking up to the world's lies, and it's awesome that so many people are, because the lies of the world are being exposed one by one, and the people are waking up to the truth that they are indeed special, they're unique. There is a creator to this creation. They have tried for a very long time to hide this truth. It's such an important truth. Whether you're coming here and you're skeptical, you need to look in and understand why these things are happening. And if it's so silly, why is YouTube in such damage control? Why is the mainstream media in such damage control, calling for censorship and calling for, fake news? That's become the big buzzword, is fake news. Fake news. This is what we hear continually. Fake news. Fake news. Right? This is all we hear. And yet they're in damage control, putting up Wikipedia articles under moon landing videos. You've got people coming out and them just screaming at them if you dare question the moon landing. So the moon landing is critical to this entire paradigm. When it comes to flat Earth, when it comes to the reality of what we're on, what the Bible describes as the truth, the moon landing is pivotal. Because if they didn't go to the moon, the question is how far can they go and why would they lie? And that really is the biggest question, because they can't go very far at all. In the last 50 years, it's admitted with all the space agencies, the furthest that man has gone is like 400 miles. And this is what they tell us. The moon, they say, is 250,000 miles away. That's 248,000 miles away. And yet the furthest that they can go with the ISS and all the different space agencies is like 300 to 400 miles. Something is wrong. Something is very wrong. The technology has caught up to verify the moon. Why do you think they're going to the far side of the moon? Because no one's ever seen the far side of the moon. Isn't it strange that not one person ever on Earth has ever seen the other side of the moon? And yet now they're going there. Interesting. China goes to the far side of the moon. I'm sure that when US finally decides to go back, as they'll say, they're probably going to go on the far side of the moon. Because P900, the Nikon P900, the Nikon P1000, it can zoom in pretty close to the moon. And it's only a matter of time before optics catch up where you can definitely see and verify everything that they tell you is happening on the moon. But of course, they're going to go further, right? To Mars, Pluto. What, is there a rover on Pluto? Yeah, Pluto? We don't hear much about the Pluto rover much anymore. And you're going to see a lot of sad news coming out this year, I think, when it comes to NASA. One being that Curiosity, is it Curiosity or is it, I forget, the other rover, they think has died. There was a supposed dust storm. And they think that, they think that the rover is dead. They can't respond to it. And again, this creates emotions. This creates a storyline. This creates a sympathy for NASA. They're desperately trying to reach the rover, and they can't find it. What's the rover's name? It's going to drive me crazy here. NASA rover. Let's see what it says here. Let's see here. Making one more. Oh, right here. Look. Let's just look this up. I just wanted to look this up. Let's go. NASA making one more attempt to contact Opportunity Mars rover. That's right, because there's Curiosity and Opportunity. And Opportunity, unfortunately, they can't contact. How convenient, right? NASA's Opportunity rover recently celebrated an anniversary, but it was bittersweet. Last week marked 15 years of the Martian surface for the little rover, but it remained silent following a monster dust storm on the red planet last year. NASA is celebrating this milestone by making one last attempt to reconnect with Opportunity. If this doesn't work, the robot will most likely be considered a loss. Isn't this sad, right? You got the whole little article here, landed on Mars in January 2004. The funny, weird thing, too, is it said that the rover was supposed to be there for 90 days. The rover with an intended lifespan of just 90 days, but they both far exceeded expectations. So you build a piece of equipment to last 90 days, all right? And it lasts that long. Does that make any sense whatsoever? Heck, we've got stuff now that they try to design for 10, 15 years and it lasts like 4 or 5 years. They're going to design something with an intended lifespan of 90 days. But it exceeded. But again, this is the storyline, right? Oh, it's so sad. There was a dust storm. Opportunity. We can't contact her anymore. What's wrong with her? Pretty soon they're going to pronounce her dead, right? DOA, dead on arrival on the dust storm. These are the stories they're going to say. This is what they're going to do. Because again, it gets into a storyline. It gets into sympathy. It gets into emotional state. Like this robot, oh, this robot's dead, right? Oh. But the idea that there's even rovers on Mars sending pictures back through their magical Wi-Fi is ridiculous. The idea of making calls to the moon is absolutely nonsense. Right? They did this, 1972 or 69? I forget what year it was. I think it was 72 on the last one when they talked from the White House. Are we that crazy to actually question this? Like they're really going to actually do this kind of stuff? But people believe it. People believe they're beaming pictures back of pictures of Mars, and it depends where it's in its orbit, supposedly. But we're talking millions and millions of miles, right? Millions of miles. And they're beaming pictures back. From this little rover. Apparently it cost $400 million, right? Great money well spent, right? To deceive mankind. And that's exactly what they're doing. They're continually deceiving mankind over and over and over again. It's time that we stand up. It's time that we get this information out. We share it. We talk to people. We speak the truth in love. But the moon landing is critical when it comes to any discussion. Before you're going to talk to them about lying about their entire reality, Earth, the sun, moon, stars, everything, you need to chip away at the foundations of NASA. Why NASA? Because NASA is the pinnacle of all type space paradigms. It's what gives us the idea of space. It's what, was the greatest achievement of mankind's history. Therefore, it's like the bedrock. It's the foundation. And once you crack that foundation, the rest will fall. When people start doubting the official narrative, just like 9/11, when you start doubting the official narrative, the rest of the story falls. And when you've got Building 7, not being structurally hit, no planes hit it. There was no structural damage. And yet, free fall speed, it comes crashing down. This doesn't happen. Do you know how big that building is? Just for reference, the city I live in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, the largest building right now that we have downtown, it's double the size of that one. It's a huge, huge building. Everyone looks at the Twin Towers and they're like, those are big buildings. And they think that these other buildings are small. But Building 7 is massive. I mean, it is structurally built well. They do not come down at free fall speed. You take out the foundation. And that's what we're talking about in this video and pretty much all my videos when it comes down to this paradigm, when it comes to scientism, is taking out the foundation. The rest will fall. And we need to continue questioning this over and over and over and bringing up these questions and allowing people to engage in healthy dialogue. We don't have to get nasty. We don't have to get crazy about it. But it's so imperative, especially so many people that have been lied to with this narrative and they no longer believe that they're special or unique. They would rather believe they're an evolved animal. They would rather believe that they came from stars. They're stardust. This is the narrative. This is what is being taught today in classrooms. This is what is being taught by the talking heads in the media. Lawrence Krauss goes so far as to say, don't thank Jesus for dying for you, thank the stars. This is blasphemous. This is evil. This is lies. This is deception. This is an agenda and the propaganda and the figureheads that are basically being positioned and put up to keep everything in place. Because it will crash down. It will crash down. DMT Matrix, thank you so much for the super chat. I appreciate it. We have to be vigilant when it comes to this truth. Now, while many people want to critique things, they want to look at everything, critically sometimes, it's important to be able to see the truth for what it is. And the Bible is the truth. Why do you think so many people doubt the Bible? Why do you think so many people hate the Bible? Why do you think so many people do all of these things? It's illegal in 54 countries. 54 countries of all the countries of the earth have made the Bible illegal. There is no other book that holds up to that scrutiny. But yes, of course, right? Wasn't it just written by men? Wasn't it? These are the same questions that I had before the age of 21 when my life was radically transformed. I was the biggest skeptic. I thought the Bible was a joke. I thought it was written by a bunch of men. It had been changed over time. All the things that you hear. But the reality is it's not. It's supernaturally inspired. God wrote the Bible through men, just like you would write a letter and use a pen. It's the same way. Thank you so much, Carrie, for the super chat. Appreciate it. It's the same way. And when we understand this, you'll understand how beautiful the Bible truly is. It is the truth. The acronym sometimes people will say is basic instructions before leaving earth. But it's true. Everything is laid out in the Bible to have a beautiful life, how to treat your neighbor, morals, all these sort of things. But most important, how to have a true relationship with God, because we're all fallen. We've all fallen short. And we definitely need a mediator. We definitely need someone to bridge that gap. And that person is Jesus, the one that claimed that he is the truth. John 14:6, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me, he claimed. So who is this Jesus? Why is his name brought up in Hollywood movies all the time, right? Have you ever stopped and thought, his name is so powerful that people can't even stop saying his name, whether they believe in him or not. His name is on everyone's lips. It's profound. It's incredible. And it's something to really look into, because when you understand that you've been lied to and this world is full of lies, the hope can be found in the truth, and the truth will set you free. And that truth is Jesus, the Son of God, the Messiah. Some people will say Yeshua. Some people will say Jesus, but it's the same person. Enoch, Tribulation Saints, thank you so much for the super chat. Really appreciate it. It's really, really important. And that's exactly what Celebrate Truth is all about. It's celebrating him. It's celebrating the truth that will set all of us free. It's a free gift. It's freely given. Anybody. But honestly, search for the truth. And when you search for the truth, you will understand the lies of this world. Each one of them. In God's time. When it's time. Like I said, for me, even 5 years ago, I still believed in the Big Bang heliocentric narrative. Of course, I didn't believe in evolution, but I still believed in the construct of everything that was being taught by astronomers and NASA. But when you understand how far this rabbit hole goes, when you understand the deception goes this deep, you realize there's a lot going on, more than meets the eye. And the moon landing is critical. This year, like I said, leading up even in the last 4 years that I've been doing Celebrate Truth, more and more people have been waking up. But the moon landing is critical. You start there. You start there. It's almost like starting with JFK before you get to 9/11, or 9/11 before you get to the moon landing. You've got to do it that way. But the moon landing is critical, because once they start doubting the moon landing, they're going to ask those questions. And when they realize that they have been lied to, even about what they're all standing on. Isn't it amazing that the one lie that people do not want to believe is a lie is the lie of what they're standing on? And why it's so upsetting for so many people and why they get so irritated is because they can't run away from it. They're all on it. Have you ever really wondered why people and the visceral reactions? Is because they can never run away from it. It's constantly going to be there. It's constantly going to be coming up. That's why they're in damage control. That's why YouTube's looking to, ban recommended videos and move against flat earth, because this topic, you can't just shut it off. You're standing on it. You can't just shut this truth off because you're looking up. Everyone that looks up in the sky sees the same thing. We all see the moon. We all see the sun. This is a common denominator with everyone that lives on Earth. And that's why there's going to be so many people coming against it. That's why the damage control, space police are going to be coming forward. Space Force, anyone? Donald Trump? And while I don't believe that there's many, many sinister things there, I think it's more of a recruitment tool. And I think that Donald Trump wants to be recognized as an amazing president. That's why he was so upset that with all the money in the world. He said, if I send NASA's budget through the roof and I give you more money than you'll ever need, can you please go to moon? Can you go to Mars? No, we cannot. What? Why can't you? Well, then go to the moon. Go to the moon in my presidency, please. I mean, how great would that be for Donald Trump? It'd be like, it happened this time, and then it also happened under Donald Trump. So in his mind, he wants to see something happen, and yet NASA's saying, we can't do it. And he's like, what? So I think even Donald Trump is starting to kind of question it, going, well, wait a minute, what's going on? I mean, I'm looking at putting together Space Force, and you're telling me you can't even get to the moon? Ask these questions. People always tell me, it's like, oh, well, they haven't gone back to the moon because they don't need to. They already were there. Excuse me? They were already there? Really? Look at all this great stuff's coming back. They're finding pieces of Earth on the moon. You don't think every scientist would be up there digging and learning more about the Earth? See, that's how you know this is a lie. Because when they're saying, oh, there's nothing on the moon to look for. Well, right here. Even though this is a lie, you would think that this would spark the imaginations of saying, wow, we can find out so much. If there's tons of old Earth on the moon, let's go up to the moon. But no one goes to the moon. No, there's no moon base. No, none of that's happening. None of that will happen. It's all a lie. Just like the NASA program, this year will be a big celebration of the 50th year anniversary of the moon landing. And each one of us, it's important, whether it's around the dinner table, with our friends, our colleagues, subtly, just gradually, let's start bringing these things into the conversation. And one big way you can do it is, isn't it weird that there's no other flags planted on the moon? What about Russia? What about China? China sends a probe? I mean, heck, all the technology we're getting right now is from China. Like, look at all the amazing stuff that's happening even from like Korea and like, the Asian countries as far as technology. They're so far ahead in so many different areas. Man, they would be on the moon. They'd have flags. They'd have digital flags. They would have you would see a Samsung LED flag screen on the moon that we could see from Earth. I mean, they got big TVs now. They're, Samsung and other manufacturers are making these massive TVs. You imagine a massive thing that was digitized and you could see it when you zoomed in on the moon. Trust me, they'd be one-upping America every which way, and yet not one country. Really? China sends a probe on the far side of the moon and everyone's congratulating them and saying, this is wonderful. No one's been on the far side of the moon. Really? You're not questioning why they haven't gone right where the Apollo is supposed to be? But guess what? There was another article that just came out. I was going to do a video on this, that Russia supposedly has a space mission planned to verify that the U.S. did indeed land on the moon. How convenient. Won't that be something when all of a sudden Russia verifies it? They basically say that, yep, we went there, we saw everything, we saw the tracks, we saw the rover, we saw, everything was there, just like they said it was. And everyone's like, see, Russia validated it. Understand that Russia, America, everyone are all in on this. And when I say all in on this, I'm talking about the elite. I'm talking about the spiritual force behind the world powers. The world is a stage. It's all act. It's all what you're seeing. And you have to understand that. It's not like, oh, but I thought Russia's enemies with US and stuff. It's all an act. It doesn't really exist in the sense of the higher ups. They're even above states. They're even above countries. And Satan, just like Jesus had his 12 disciples, Satan definitely has his 12 discipleship families. Rothschilds, Rockefellers. I mean, he definitely handpicked his disciples. And his disciples have turned into family lines. They've turned into the bloodlines. And when you study that, you will see that these are the most powerful, richest families that walk the earth. Is that surprising to you? It shouldn't be. 12 of the biggest bloodline families, and yet Jesus had 12 disciples. You have to understand, Satan's an imitator. He's an imitator. He likes to imitate. And again, if Jesus has his 12 disciples, then again, he's going to have his 12 disciples. And they've turned into family bloodlines, is what they are. But they go all the way back to Nimrod, all the way back. This is nothing new. Nothing new happens under the sun. I was mentioning this a couple of days ago on a broadcast, and even the Bible says that nothing new happens under the sun. And yes, under the sun. That's right. The sun is above you. And this whole heliocentric Big Bang cosmology with a spinning ball flying through space makes you dizzy. But when you come back from not being so dizzy, you're like, wait a minute. If I'm spinning, flying, wobbling throughout the universe around the sun, Where's up? Where's down? From the vantage of space, there is no up, there is no down. Everything is erased. Not just erased, it's made to make humans confused. Confused. Why? Because we're a pointless accident, a random accident in vast universe, of billions and trillions of other universes. It makes you sick. And for a creator to actually create anything that would be that disorientated, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense just for the fact of making a light source to light the earth 100,000 times bigger than the earth itself. We don't even do that on earth when we light something. When you light your living room, you don't go get a light bulb, 15 times bigger than your house to light your living room. And yet the creator of all things, with the technology, with the intellect, and with the intelligence of him, is going to actually create something that ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. And when the Bible says that the earth is fixed, immovable, still, all of these adjectives, be still as God is still. How could you be still if you're flying and rotating and running all throughout the universe? You can't. Everything is laid out in the Bible. Back to what I was saying about the Bible, the truth is there. And if you're having a hard time with the Bible, search it out. Ask questions. Get your questions answered. There's nothing wrong with it. It's important to search out the truth. But if you're hesitant when it comes down to that Bible, you really, really need to look into it further, because it will change your life. It truly will change your life. If you realize the power and you realize the truth of what it says, being the Word of God, and Jesus being the Word of God, becoming flesh. If you understand exactly what's going on, that God loved us so much that he actually became flesh and died so that we don't have to, in a spiritual sense. It's a beautiful love story. It's the most amazing, amazing love story you've ever heard. Someone asked the other day, they said, well, what would you say is the theme of the entire Bible? And there's many answers for that. But if you understand from Genesis to Revelation, if you read the Bible and you understand, it's God loving his people, showing that their relationship can be restored. And it is so easy when you understand what he has done. But again, people will rather believe that they came from nothing. They'd rather believe that they're just evolved animals, right? Oh yeah, we got to hug the trees and save the whales because we're just animals and we're just living beings like everything else. This world is backwards. It's crazy backwards. It's not just backwards, it's evil. Morally, it's becoming wicked every day. More and more things are coming out. The abortion bill that just passed in New York, it's horrendous. It's just awful. Taking out the most innocent life of all God's creation. This is an attack on creation. Just like Satan attacked all God's creation, whether it's the sun, the moon, the earth, you name it, he's attacked every single ounce of it. And he will continue to do so, even erasing the very fabric of the genders. Every single thing that, even 100 years ago, 50 years ago, 20 years ago, we would think, no, never in a million years would someone question that or call that into question. And it's being called into a question now, right now as we speak. There is a cultural war happening, but it's a spiritual war. We do not wage war with flesh and blood, but with principalities in high places. This is a spiritual war we're in. But understand that if you do have Christ, if you are born again and saved through his blood, greater is he that is in you than he who is in the world. You have nothing to fear. And a lot of times when we're looking into these topics, it can get down. We can get down. We can be like, oh my goodness, man, like there's no hope. There's despair. But there is hope. There is hope. And again, there is the truth. And the truth will always prevail. And we're called to be ambassadors for his truth. We're called to be ambassadors for his name. And yes, we'll be laughed at. Yes, we'll be persecuted. But you know what? The reward will be huge. And the reward is huge when you understand that you are being an ambassador for the creator of all of creation. And what a beautiful thing to be able to be woke up to this truth and be given the privilege of letting other people know. It's a huge responsibility. There's a huge amount of responsibility. There's a lot of eyes on us. There's going to be a lot of ridicule, but it's a beautiful thing. And God is in control. Follow him in all things. Follow his wisdom. Rest on his strength, not your own. Don't try to do things your way. Say, Lord, I want to do them your way. It's all about surrendering. It's all about laying your life down and saying, Lord, tell me what you want me to do. God, give me the courage. Give me the strength. Fill me with your love. That's the most amazing thing. He wants to have a personal relationship with every single one of you. Whether you have one or you don't, understand that he truly does. And if you read the Bible with an open mind, with an open heart, you will see the truth for yourself. He's calling you. He's calling you to come to him. He's calling you to come out of the world's lies and embrace the truth that's found only in him. Guys, thanks so much. It's been a great stream. Wanted to put this out there, and I appreciate every one of you. I'll be back real soon. 2019, I'm going to be doing a lot more live streams because you've been all asking for it, and I want to make sure that we do that for you. And if you do have any other questions or whatever, please put them in the comments. I'll be looking through that a bit later once I get this live stream up. Real quick, say hi to everyone here. Roderick's in the house. Good to see you, Roderick. Nice to see you as well. Hey, Scotty, good to see you. Sean is here. We've got Wendell. I'm just going to go back here, just make sure that. Yeah, so you guys enjoy your night. Have a great one. Take this to heart if you are on the fence. If you're looking at all this stuff, all the propaganda that's going to happen, especially with the moon, please look into the moon. Look into the truth of the Bible. It's right there. It's in front of you. You'll be amazed when you actually draw close to God, and he's going to draw close to you. Blessings, everyone.